This is part 3 in a series of videos discussing ways of analyzing worldviews. In this video, I want to talk about pretty much the opposite of the last one. In the last video, I talked about subsuming, which is the utility of being able to encapsulate other views. Being taken up, by this I mean something almost the opposite. All right, what am I talking about? Well, here I have some cards in my hand. This is, on each of these cards, this is, I'm just giving a bit of my own past here. This is a project I had where every time I encountered a worldview, I would write it on a card. So I don't know if you can see it. And by that I mean like a distinct worldview. Obviously, every individual kind of has their own unique perspective, but there also are encompassing worldviews that are heavily shared between individuals. So that by that I meant like the encompassing worldview. So this one is, the lighting might not work. This first one is the Knight of Faith, and that is largely coming from Kierkegaard. The Knight of Faith is a worldview of overcoming. Here I wrote, is through struggle, courage, and faith in existence, I will be able to actualize, find my power, and know the beauty of truth, connect to the source, i.e. the hero's journey. Superman's way of being, the Knight of Faith, overcoming, transcending. It's the knight who moves forward without certainty. And that's a view one could live with and enact in and like imbue and embody. And so that gets a card. And here I've got it's all about sex, which is a Freudian view. I've even heard this in many debates common where people will diminish or reduce arguments, desires, actions to evolutionary psychology or sexually motivated. And there's actually a fair bit of power in that worldview. There's a lot that could be said. Just to give one more example, there is only the now. This is like, the power of now. Eckhart Tolle, the spiritualism many people are searching for today, to be honest, that feeling of being alive in the moment and that this moment is all we have. And it goes on like that. And I used to take these cards and I would lay them out, and I say I had a question or a topic, I would think about how that topic relates to the different cards. So I go like, okay, what does our Knight of Faith say about this topic? If I had that worldview, what is this worldview? And what is this worldview? What do they all think? And here I was trying to get to some most absolute view or to find my own answer. And this was years ago. I was taking this perspective. I think ultimately, what I found out is it's never ending, right? Because, as I said in the first video, I am necessarily still some perspective when I'm analyzing these. Like I can't escape. I want to pretend I'm open to everything, and so I'm making no wrong answers. But the truth is, behind my analysis, right, when I'm looking at all these cards, I am myself in a position analyzing them, right? So if this position itself is incomplete in some way, then this whole analysis itself is kind of useless, and even like my ability to conceptualize these views is flawed. So therefore this just cataloging, it's a dead end. It's more like a philosophical intellectual interest. It's like intellectual masturbation in a way. Although it's fun, it's not really. If my real goal is personal growth, then this wasn't the best view. Okay, how does that relate to being taken up? Well, looking at these cards and like laying them out, one thing I started to realize is like what can be said as being one of these cards? Like where is there to go? And I want to contrast this with a feeling where, I don't know, this is a common feeling. You ever been on like a bus or a train and you're traveling and you look out the window and you see so many cars and houses going by, and you have this feeling of like here I have the deck, my poorly crudely drawn deck, but you have the feeling like I'm just this one instance, I'm this one card, I'm this one person, and it's almost overwhelming to have this feeling of seeing so many others. You look on the street, all these other people, each person with their own worldview. It's almost overwhelming. Like, how can we go anywhere? What can be said? How can we find completeness or wholeness or movement or growth? Or how can we ever feel correct? How can we ever grow or do anything if we are just this one instance? It can be an overwhelming feeling. And I think I might be wording it a bit strangely here, by the card analysis, but I think it's something like everyone can relate to, and everyone in their growth will go through phases where they really feel the smallness in a way. They see reality from the side of the limitation of being inside one head, and it can be frightening. So, being taken up, the thought here is the realization that yes, you are a card. Yes, you are one instance. But you can have still a reference to the deck. You can have awareness that there is a deck. And subsuming a view, we might say, is like you gobble it up. You put it inside your boundary. You understand it. Where to be subsumed, to be taken up, is not to know the whole. It's not to know, it's not the whole is in you. It's to be aware. It's to be aware of the whole from which you are in, and that you can never encapsulate. It's an impossible process. And I remember reading Thomas Nagel's The View from Nowhere, and feeling a lot, he puts it analytically, but very clearly, feeling a lot of if you want to get deep into this analysis, let me just say I recommend that book, this way of thinking of the limitation of being a person, but trying to be objective, and how we can do that. Well, the answer is partly is yes, you are a thing, but you can be aware of being a thing within a whole. And why does that matter? Now to make like a jump to an Eastern way of thinking. I remember listening to Alan Watts, a lot of his podcasts here on YouTube, where he'll talk about playing on two levels, where you are stuck being this thing. You can be this thing. You have to be this thing. But the point is that while you inhabit this thing, you do it with the awareness that you are this thing too. You do it the awareness that you are in that thing. You are part of that thing. I want to share a story. I remember once, this is a time I was on shrooms. I guess I've tried mushrooms a few times in my life. And I remember looking at plants. I was alone and just looking at nature. And just I was overwhelmed with the uniqueness and beauty and energy and vitality of each distinct plant. I was like, that thing is amazing. It's like I was feeling its energy source. And sure, I'm high, but there's a truth to it too. It's like I'm this thing, but you go, wow, look at this thing. Wow, look at this thing. Wow, look at this thing. Wow, look at all these other things. They're amazing. And there gets to be this feeling of like, I am a part of it. I don't want to put a line through it. I want to highlight it. I want to make it bright. I am a part of this. So in our growth, subsuming other views can be really important in understanding them for our growth, but also this being taken up of feeling, of awareness of our place in the larger picture. And it almost, playing on these two levels, it almost reflects back. It's like we're aware of our larger objectivity, but that itself rebounds and gives us freedom. So to go back to the first video I was talking about, well, how do we make a choice between these two views, or like rank them and whatnot? But we could say in both cases, whichever you are inhabiting, if you are playing with this, oh look, there's like a speech bubble. If you are playing on two levels with this thought of your relationship to the whole, it plays a massively important role in directing and managing and movement towards growth. And that we can just call being taken up. And this is not even really so much an answer to like, do you pick A or you pick B? It's more like as you move through these, an awareness of your reference to the larger picture gives you a greater level of freedom to move through this process versus my cataloging, which will never be complete and ultimately can go, well, I want to say go nowhere, but it led me to new realizations. So yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching.